Hello friendos, it's Bella from the Bookish Badger, and today I'm going to be talking about authors in relation to color palettes. So, I think I know what you're thinking. Bella, that sounds weird, please explain yourself, because what are you talking about? So I was standing there brushing my teeth one day, and I was like, I wonder what Hogwarts house Neil Gaiman is in, because this is just things that I think about sometimes. I just sort a whole bunch of random people into Hogwarts houses. So I was thinking about it and I was like, well, he's gotta be a Ravenclaw because, come on, but that's too bad because his color palette is more Slytherin. And then I was like, wait a second, brain. Back that up. Explain yourself. So I even had to explain myself to myself. And basically, what I came to after thinking about it for a couple of minutes is that I realized that I associate authors and their works and certain books with color palettes, and it's not usually just one color, it is specifically a palette of colors. So after going through this thought a little bit more in my head, I definitely confirmed with myself that I associate color palettes with authors. Like, I associate Rainbow Rowell with pastels, J.K. Rowling is primary colors like yellow, blue, red, Rick Riordan is cool tones like blues and greens and purples, Marissa Meyer is pretty metallic, like silvery, goldy, bronzy type of thing. Lemony Snicket is like muted earth tones. So there's just a ton of authors where I'm like, oh yeah, these are their colors. And then thinking more about it, I was like, okay, so I've definitely got these color palettes for the authors and their books in my head, but is it solely influenced by the cover art? Because I'm sure you picked up on some of the examples I gave and the color palettes I gave, they match each other. So like Rainbow Rowell being pastel, that makes sense because a lot of her covers are pretty pastel, like think Eleanor and Park, think Fangirl, think Attachments, all of those. But I'd say her stories match pastel because I think of a lot of teen romance type of things to be pastel because it's like, I don't want to say fluffy, but it's like light, if that makes sense. So what I'm getting at is that while it may be influenced by the cover, it doesn't necessarily cement it, because there are definitely some where I'm like, no, the cover palette is totally off from the palette of the book or of the author. To support the theory that it doesn't rely entirely on the cover is two examples that are actually two of my least favorite books of all time. The first one is Feed by M.T. Anderson. As you can see, this cover is pretty yellow and blue and green and purple, but in my head the color palette of this book is like silver and pewter and bronze, so kind of muted metallic colors. And my second example, which I don't have to hold up and I can't insert the cover of because Windows Movie Maker is dumb, is Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, and that cover is black and white and blue for the most part. But in my head it looks like basically a bouquet of glow sticks, so it looks like a glow stick shade of orange and green and pink and red and purple, but you know, in the day glow stick colors. There is one genre that I feel is inseparable from its cover color palette, and those will be graphic novels, because in a lot of cases the color palettes on the cover of graphic novels are the same color palette used in the graphic novel, in the art itself. And in a graphic novel you can't escape the art because it's a part of the story, and because the art and the colors are so integrated into the story, they end up integrating themselves into the color palette that's in my head for that book. Now I feel like a good example for this one would be something like Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. As you can see, this cover is a little bit spoopy. It's got the black and the red and the white with like little bitty dot of blue, and that's basically the color palette through this entire graphic novel. It's very gothic looking, And I was thinking about the color palette for this book, and I'm like, well, it's gotta be the color palette of the art that's already in there. So there's that too. At any rate, I'm not entirely positive at how my brain decides a color palette for a book or for an author, but I think it's got some mixture to do with cover art, writing style, and how the characters make me feel. But however my brain does it, it definitely happens, and it's always some sort of like subconsciously in the back of my mind there when I'm reading a book, because it colors like the characters' outfits or the surroundings of where the characters are in my brain, and I didn't even realize that I did this until like 2 weeks ago. Anyway, that is pretty much it for this discussion-ish type of video. I would love to hear from you guys on this one because I want to know if I'm crazy or not. Like, does anybody else do this? Or am I completely alone in the world? Or do you do something like it, maybe? Maybe you associate smells with certain books or with characters or authors. I don't know. All of it, any of it, please leave it in a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, do not hesitate to give it a thumbs up. Do not hesitate to subscribe for more content coming soon, and I will see you in the next video. Bookish Badger, signing off.